Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us for the final workshop of spring 2020. You guys have made it. It's the last week of the year. I know finals are ahead, so this is going to be a tough week, but you got this. You got this. I tell my launch members all the time the greatness is already inside of you. They laugh at me, but lots of people, their greatness is manifesting right now, and trust and believe the greatness is already inside of you. You guys got this for finals week. Just hang in there one more week. Congratulations to all of our seniors, our class of 2020. It breaks my heart that we can't celebrate with you appropriately, but your accomplishment is nothing, but amazing. And my heart is filled with joy for you, but sadness that we can't really celebrate like we need to. Congratulations, class of 2020. Um, and our final workshop for today is, of course, understanding personal credit, but wanted to remind and let you guys know that on Thursday is the highlight of our semester, an entrepreneur showcase. This is the opportunity where many of the launch members will share their idea and or their existing business with you. Normally, it's set up in a tabling function where you would just walk through launch and you get a chance to talk to each of the entrepreneurs and ask them questions and just see what they're doing, sample some of their products. Many of them also will vend and make some of their products available for sale. So I hate that we won't be able to do that this time, but what we're going to do is a virtual showcase where 10 of our entrepreneurs are going to pitch and share what they're doing with you. Either pitch their elevator pitch and or share a slide deck. So if you're available on Thursday afternoon, please join us at 1 p.m. Go ahead and register at the calendar. By now, you guys are used to knowing where we have our registration set up. So join us on Thursday. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, but today, you are here for understanding business credit. We felt that this was an incredibly important topic for entrepreneurs and business owners because if you are not already aware, there absolutely is a direct relationship between your personal credit and your business credit. And Philip is going to go into that in more detail. So I hope you walk away with his practices, tools, and tips on what you need to do personally for your personal credit in order to increase the chances of you being successful uh, for your business or positioning yourself so that you don't get in the way of the success of your business, which really is what would happen. You would be getting in the way of your business. Um, so it is my absolute pleasure to introduce you to our guest presenter today. Come on, Mr. Phillip Karaya. Philip is a Panther. He's one of our own current launch member who is an MBA candidate at the Robinson College of Business. He also is an adjunct professor and a graduate teaching assistant teaching business analysis this semester, right, Phil?
Yep.
Teaching business analysis. He considers himself a motivational teacher, not a motivational speaker, but a motivational teacher. One of the things I learned early on in meeting Phil is he loves to share knowledge and teach people and empower people so that, college is a time where many people make poor financial decisions that tend to stay with them, like staying the rest of their lives, like a tattoo. Once you get a tattoo and it doesn't go away, credit can be considered the same thing. So he feels it's his passion and mission to teach you and motivate you to make good decisions. Little known fact, he's a sports enthusiast and founder of Karaya Consulting, where he helps to educate clients so that they can make the financial plans that fit their current and future lives and businesses. Everything from personal budgeting to increasing personal credit, designing profit models, financial projections, business and corporations, and establishing personal credit. To set up a consultation, you would absolutely check up www.karayaconsulting.com or shoot him an email. Phil will also share his contact information at the end of this presentation. Without further ado, it is absolutely my honor and pleasure and privilege to introduce you to Phillip Karaya. Virtual applause, Phil. All right, I am going to go ahead and give it back over to you.
Go.
One moment. One moment. All right, sir. You should be able to share.
Alrighty. All right, awesome. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Like she said, thank you, Miss Erica Bracy, for having me on today to give some good information on some personal credit. This is something that I wish I would have started learning sooner rather than later. I'll just give you a little background about how I started learning about credit. When I started my undergraduate at Georgia State, I was, they have little pop-up shops outside. I'm sure, well, we're not outside anymore right now, but when we were allowed outside and they used to do the things outside of Student Center East, sometimes they'd have tables with different companies and creditors that would come out. And so I went and I was like, oh, okay, like this seems interesting. Took some pamphlets, took it home, and I asked my parents, what do you guys think about like credit and everything like along those lines? And the response was pretty much just, like, well, leave it alone. Like, it's really not something that you need to mess with. I've always been the kind of person that you kind of have to explain why something should or shouldn't be done and not just say don't do it. So I continued on to open up as many credit accounts as I possibly could. And
Oh my God.
and so it was a Chase card that I had. Well, I still have it. A Chase card that I had that I maxed out. It was like $4,000 was the limit. It was after I saw that my interest, well, my payment on the card, my minimum payment was $120. So I paid the $120, but my interest charge was 150. And so I was like, how's it that I paid money and now I owe more money? And so it forced me to. I hate the aspect of wasting money. And so it forced me to go and like read as much as I could. Then I learned. Luckily, I never missed a payment or anything. I had a decent paying job and I didn't have many responsibilities. Knocked down my debt, started learning a bunch about the different possibilities, what you can do with credit as far as credit card churning and getting points and stuff like that. So it's all right. Like if your journey didn't start off the best way, mine didn't start off the best way, but it cleaned out like pretty good. But yeah, so let's go ahead and dive into understanding, some stuff about personal credit. And there we go. Why does any of this matter, right? So credit is going to be the difference between how much money you owe when you borrow, essentially, because it'll really impact your interest rate. Not only that, depending on the industry that you go to work into, they'll look at your credit to see if you're going to be a suitable applicant. The reason that this is going to be important is because, say, you're going to go into something in finance, they're going to say, all right, how can we expect you to manage, a multi-million dollar portfolio when you can't even manage like your own finances? It's not one of these things. I know we'll see a lot of stuff on Instagram, on Facebook, with people saying if your credit starts with a 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever, like automatically, like you need to do this or like I can help you. I mean, definitely it's something important that you should work on, but understand why you're building your credit. Understand why it's important. Understand what your goals are financially and how your credit's going to play into that. Like Miss Bracy was saying, even when it comes to getting business credit, when you're looking to do SBA loans or you're looking to just get a business credit card, they're going to look at things such as outside of the establishment of your business for a certain amount of time, you're also a personal guarantee. Because if your business doesn't have a track record of just making a crazy amount of cash, they have to ride on, okay, the person that's borrowing this money, how smart are they with their money? How good are they at paying money back? What are they going to do along those lines? Even when just getting a business credit card, you have to have at least $12,000 in your personal accounts and have it revolving, right? So what is our goal of this? Our goal is to leave with more information than we had in the beginning. Please make sure you jot down your questions. I can't see the chat right now, but they're monitoring it, and I will definitely answer each and every question that you have. There's no such thing as a dumb question. Please ask. If you don't know, this is a great time to get the information out there. I'm not trying to sell you. I'm free right now, so by all means, use me as much as possible. So, possibilities of good credit usage. I just wanted to give you guys a little snapshot of like this is some stuff. This is all from like this week. So one of these cards, most people are not able to get a high credit limit on certain things because their credit profile isn't strong enough. So it's relatively rare to see people that can get credit lines of 20, 30, $40,000. Or also, as you can see with one of my Express cards, this is, and I'll dive into the different types of cards. With charge cards, I technically don't have a spending limit. So depending on my own habits, Even if I'm spending $50,000, $100,000 in a month, that's fine. But the thing is, with charge cards, you pay them off in full every single month. And as you can see, I've been at Publix and Papa John's a whole bunch. So, what is a good credit score? So this is going to be the revolving wheel of what most creditors will look at to say what's good. A lot of people will say anything above like 680 and above is pretty good, but you can see by this wheel, 670 to 739 is good. 740 to 799 is very good. Exceptional 800 to 850. There's certain factors that we're going to talk about that go into what makes your score get to each place. And one of the things that's going to happen, you can't just jump to 800. Like, it's impossible. Most people, when they start off in having no credit, is fine, but it's all about building it, doing it the right way, and maintaining it. So, one of the things that's going to impact, you're going to go buy a home after you graduate from college. And so, one of the things that'll be different, depending on what your credit score is your interest rate. And interest is literally saying how much money you're going to have to pay extra. So, the higher your credit is, the lower on the scale it's going to be. And the lower the credit, the higher. Unfortunately, like 4.5% like isn't terrible, but it actually goes higher than that. And we're not going to get into subprime lending right now, but that's a practice where people would go and give home mortgages to people that truly cannot afford to be in a home. And the default rates are extremely high because a lot of people feel like, oh, like I just want to get in a house. Like a house is like the biggest investment. Personally, I believe houses are the biggest liabilities until you owe it in full. If you miss a payment, the bank takes all of that away and they don't really care about the money you put into it. So just making sure whenever you're hopping into or looking into getting a home, it makes sense for you financially. And granted, things happen, but outside of that, we just want to make sure we're going about things the right way. So, what are some of the things that impact our credit score? 30% is going to be the amount that's actually owed. And so this is a model more so for when you're taking out mortgages. And I'll also go into the model for like Credit Karma and what you would see on there. 10% is new credit. And so this is going to be the number of accounts that you've acquired within the last 2 years. There's a difference between a soft and a hard inquiry. And so with a hard inquiry, it's going to impact your score for about 6 months and it's going to stay on your credit report for about 2 years. There's nothing wrong with it, but you want to make sure that you're strategically and not doing too many at a time. An inquiry is basically showing, hey, I'd like to borrow some money for something. If you see someone that's going to ask 30 people to borrow money, do you want to lend money to them? Probably not. Or also, if the amount that they owe is a whole bunch, and on top of that, they're going around asking a bunch of people for money, it's not something that you'd be like, oh, like that's probably a safe investment. You're probably thinking, okay, they're looking to get more money from me so they can, rob Peter to pay Paul, but I'm not going to get my money back. 50% of that is going to be the length of your credit history. And so this is one of the pieces where time literally does a lot. Like to get to 800 and above, like normally you have to have a certain amount of time in your credit report. This is normally going to be like 7 years and above. And there's a way that you can get around it and a little bit. And I'll talk about that in the credit tips. So credit mix is going to be the next thing. They normally want to see a mixture of you having credit cards, store cards, having installment loans, having mortgage information on there. So it's like having a balance of the different types of things. That you can see, like, that's really not something that impacts it greatly too much. But the biggest thing is going to be payment history. So even if, granted, life happens, the way that I believe in using cards is that you use it, you pay it off in full. That way you never have to deal with interest. People ask all the time, like, what do you think about a card that has like a high APR? Like if we go back to the slide, you see how my APR on this one is 14.49%. To me, that doesn't matter because I'm paying off the card in full, and I either am getting cards as a buffer for utilization if I am planning to do something, or I literally just cleared in my charge card, even though I don't technically have a preset spending limit. I have to pay it off in full. So if I charge $30,000 to the card, I pay off that card completely by the end of that month. But the most important thing you never want to do is miss a payment. Even if you're just making a minimum payment, granted, something can happen. You can lose your job. Maybe you're like, all right, but I have to buy food. I'm not going on a vacation, but I need to buy food. I need to pay rent, whatever, while I'm scrambling to get a new job. That's fine, whatever. But make sure you never miss even the minimum payment. The thing is, once you pay off whatever your debt is, your credit score will go right back up. But the thing is, if you start missing payments, even after you pay the debt, you're still negatively impacted because think about it like this. If someone comes to you and is like, I'm looking to borrow money, and then it's like, oh, well, they showed that they pay people 50% of the time. Are you willing to take a bet with $20,000 that someone will maybe pay you back? The answer is probably no. So this is a breakdown. I just grabbed a random snapshot of a Credit Karma, and so the three things that are going to impact your credit more than anything from a because there's a Vantage score and then there's a FICO score. So we're looking at Vantage. This is FICO. This is Vantage, which is what creditors will look like as you're applying for credit cards, mostly. And so we have payment history. Like I said, it is high impact. You want to make sure that you're staying at 100% at all times. Like at all times, always make your payment, even if it's a minimum payment. Whatever it is, I cannot stress it enough. Always make your payments. And so next is going to be credit card use. Essentially, they want to see that you're going to be below 30% on whatever you're doing. Below 30%. Below, even better. Zero is the greatest. But if you're going to stay in there, you want to be always beneath 30% or below. Next is going to be derogatory marks. So derogatory marks is when you have bills that have gone to collections or like tax liens or bankruptcies. And so bankruptcies normally will stay on your credit for, I believe it's 7 years. You can look up to double check it, but I don't think anyone right now should be worrying about bankruptcies, but collections could definitely happen. So say you have a medical bill, something happens, and then you end up going crazy, and you're like, oh, I'm not going to pay that bill. And then it gets sent over to collections. It shows on your credit report, and then it shows that you default on bills. And so that's not something that looks good. Cool thing is you can easily negotiate to either bring down the debt and then get those things taken care of and get them taken off. And so once you remove that, your credit score goes right back up. Even with credit card use, even if it's at 25%, or let's say it's even at 75%, something that's looked to as very, very bad. The second that you pay off all of your debt, the next statement that everything posts to the three credit bureaus being TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, your credit goes right back up. So it's really like those are things that are manageable. But the thing with payment history is like once you start missing a bunch of payments, there is no going back. So it's one thing that you definitely do not want to start getting into. Everything else is relatively easy and manageable to fix. Payment history is not. I'm gonna keep stressing it. Do not miss a payment. So next is gonna be credit age. So this is gonna be the average age of all of your accounts. And so everything from the first card to the last card is just, the average. So if you have a 10-year card and a new card, your average credit age is going to be 5 years. And so what's one way you can actually bring this up without continually opening new accounts? We'll talk about it. So next is going to be your total number of accounts, open and close. People often think it's the less number of accounts I have, the better. And it's actually the opposite. It's actually the more. But the thing is about having more credit accounts that are all in good standing. It's not common for people to have multiple credit accounts that are open that they literally do not use. I probably have at least 20 of them that I literally do not use for anything. They just sit there and they make my utilization always stay nice if I am ever going to use one of my cards and I can't pay it back in full and it's not the charge card. So next is going to be our hard inquiry. So this is going to be the number of times that you've gone for credit. When you're looking at your score through something like your bank, if they have access to most of them have access to your FICO score, and then you can enroll in that. If you're looking at something like Wallet Hub, if you're looking at something like Credit Karma, so that you can look at TransUnion and Equifax, or if you're just going directly through Experian, they have a free account that you can open up through there, so you can see like all three of your scores. That doesn't impact you, just to look at whatever your credit is. However, when a creditor is going to look at your credit, so they can make a decision on a judgment call on whether it's worth extending credit to you, yes or no, it's definitely going to be a hard inquiry, but it's nothing to fret about. It's just about not inquiring too many of them at a time. I mean, if you have too many of them, automatically you're going to be denied because it's like, why is this person shopping for money so hard? It's like you're a flight risk at that point. But it's going to stay on your credit report for 2 years and then it's going to fall off. It'll only impact your score for 6 to 12 months. So, what are some of the common types of credit? So, this is going to be your installment loans, your revolving credit, and your open credit. So, some regular installment loans people know of is like getting a car loan or literally taking out a mortgage on a house. So that's something you have a fixed amount that you're paying. Boom, 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 boom. Revolving credit, we have some credit cards. And so that is the example of like the one that's up here on the top right. That is going to be what's a revolving credit line. And so with those, mandatory that you pay them off in full every month, but it's just a best practices way to do it to make sure that you're not incurring a bunch of debt because that is money that you're borrowing from someone else that you have to pay interest on. So if you don't actually need it or if you're not doing it the right way as far as like training for points, whatever it may be, it's probably not the best way of going about doing it. And then the other card would be an example of open credit. So these are charge cards where they don't necessarily have very strict spending limits, but whatever you spend, you do have to pay off at the end of the month, and there's no getting around that. So what are the 5 C's of credit? So this is going to be capacity, which is your ability to make the payments in a timely manner, conditions, the terms you're trying to secure, collateral, any assets you're willing to use as a guarantee, such as a car. Sometimes if you're going for a loan for a business or even a personal loan, oftentimes people will put up, a car, or they'll put up like a property or something else. Or even if you're looking to do a home equity line of credit, which is basically like as you paid into your mortgage, you have a certain amount of equity built into the house. So you can borrow equity from the house, but the collateral is the actual house. So it's like whatever it is, sometimes you have to leverage assets in order to get a guarantee. Also, just depending on whatever your risk is as a lender and also the amount of money that you're looking for. Next is going to be your capital, which is your income and other sources of and then your character, which is your general reputation. So all these can be tied back into some of the things we see into the model. Like general reputation would be like looking at your derogatory marks. Capital, we don't really see that play into the model itself, but as you're applying for credit, they're going to look at it and say, like, how much can this person afford to actually be utilizing, pay back? What's their debt to income ratio, which is something that creditors look at, and you'll understand it a lot more as you start getting into like house hunting. They want to see that people normally have a DTI, debt to income ratio, I believe 45% or less, sometimes 40. The less, the better, because that means that if I have $1,000 coming in every month as far as income, and my bills take up 75% of that, that means I only have $250. It's not a lot of leeway. And so if an accident happens or something goes wrong, more than likely, like, I'm just screwed. And that's not where you want to be in comparison to, like, say you make $10,000 a month and your expenses are $1,000 a month. The rest is all discretionary. You can spend it how you want. That means that only 10% of everything that you have coming in after taxes is actually needed to pay any bills, which is a very good place to be because you can save aggressively, you can invest aggressively, you can do whatever you want because you're in a decent financial position. And so, what are some credit tips slash hacks? One is going to be pay down your installment loans as fast as possible because, well, depending on if you have a lot of debt, there's two ways that people normally try to look at how to tackle it. There's going to be debt snowballing and debt avalanching. Debt snowballing is going to be lining up all of your debts depending on whatever the amount is and then knocking it down smallest to largest. While debt avalanching is going to be rather, we're going to look at the interest rate and we're going to take care of whatever has the highest interest rate and then work our way down. Sometimes one works better than the other. Every financial is not the same. So it's just about figuring out what makes sense for you. Next is about optimizing your credit card utilization. So we saw how big it was and that it's a big fact of what makes it look like you're a good or bad lender, right? But let's break down one of the differences. So if we talked about 30% being a good metric of like if you're 30% or under, you're normally pretty. If you have a $300 credit card, right? And you maxed it out. So you've spent $300 completely and it reports to the credit bureaus, right? You're going to be looked to that you're using 100% of all of your credit, which is looked to as terrible. In comparisons, if you still had $300 that you utilized, however, you had a $1,000 credit limit, now your utilization is only 30% and it's looked to as good. And so you see how it's the exact same amount of money, but it can be looked extremely differently depending on the amount of available credit that you have. And so that's why it's important to the third point to increase your credit limits. And so this only works when you have the income, the track record, and the type of responsibility that as you increase your credit limits, it does not mean that you're trying to go and spend more money that you don't have. Ideally, I look at credit as a great way to turn. And so if you're utilizing it in a way of like, hey, I'm only spending it and paying it off in full, maybe increasing your credit limits doesn't necessarily matter to you. But say maybe you're someone in business and you're like, all right, cool. Like it would be a little bit harder for me to go and get a huge loan, but I'm going to bet on myself. I'm going to use my personal credit, but I'm going to make sure I at least have enough to manage my minimum payments. But I'm just going to take this out as a loan to myself. Whatever works for you. And it's just about figuring out like what makes the most sense for like you and your journey. There is no right or wrong thing. It's just about choices and outcomes. There's no such thing as good or bad decisions. Just choices and outcomes. And we just live with whatever happens. Next, as far as if you do have derogatory marks, consult with a company to remove them. I mean, you can definitely find literature online and see things such as like goodwill letters, and then also like sending disputes by certified mail to all of the different credit bureaus. But one of the things you definitely want to work on is getting those things removed because it's basically just showing that, I'm someone that does not pay my bills back. And as someone that would want to go and borrow more money, no one wants to go and give money to someone that doesn't pay their bill back. So utilizing credit card piggybacking. So this is the piece that I wanted to talk about as far as increasing your age without necessarily waiting or like what's called like credit like nesting. And so what you can do is only works if you have someone that you truly trust, they're in a good financial position, and then you also are able to communicate, that this is what I'm doing and this is why it works, right? So credit card piggybacking is essentially adding someone, well, not you all, but someone else would be adding you. Say it's like a parent, a grandparent, a friend, whoever, adding you onto their credit account as an authorized user. What this does is it adds that account to your credit report. And so, as far as essentially, you only want to be on accounts that would be throwaway accounts. Like it's an old account that has zero utilization because it doesn't use and it's old in age. So, say I was added, for example, like I was added on one of my dad's credit accounts, and it was an old Chase card. It had a $9,000 limit. It was 25 years old, and then so now my total utilization was boosted by $9,000. It sits and it never increases because it's an account that he does not use. And my average age was also increased because now my oldest card is 25 years in comparison to like whenever my youngest card was at the time. And so things like that can definitely help put you in a better position for finances and credit in general. So, what are some other credit tips and hacks? Make sure, I'm going to stress this again, pay your bills on time every single time. Never miss a payment. Always make at least a minimum payment, if anything. Keep those balances low. You want to be shooting for not using them at all. If you are going to use them, whatever, your decision. But you want to make sure that you're staying at 30% or less, ideally 10% or less, but 30% or less is okay. Thirdly, is monitoring your credit report to ensure that there aren't any mistakes. You can visit annualcreditreport.com. You can get a free report, a free extensive report if you don't have any credit history. There's not going to be anything on there, but still, it's a good practice to get into. To get a free report from each of the three credit bureaus, and you can do that once every 12 months. Another thing is like understanding the importance of locking your credit. So personally, I keep all of my credit accounts consistently frozen, and so what that means is that if someone was to steal my social security information and they were to go to apply for credit, they wouldn't be able to do anything because my credit accounts are all locked. And the only time I put temporary lifts is if I'm applying for new credit or doing something else. But other than that, I just keep it completely locked, and it's relatively safe and easy to do. And matter of fact, I'll show a little bit about that. And so next, avoid. Okay, let's see. Okay, cool. Avoid too many credit inquiries in a short period of time and unnecessary annual fees. So for myself, I don't believe in annual fees outside of two cards that I have, and I'll actually break down some of the different benefits that I get out of having that card because one of them is $550 a year and the other is $195. But I'll actually just show you the different things and perks that I get with it, and then you can weigh out whether things make sense for you or not. But outside of that, I really don't believe in having cards with annual fees unless they're giving me a whole bunch of perks, which are awesome. And so protect your finances. Keep financial records in order and always watch out for frauds and scams. If someone's telling you that if something sounds too good to be true, more than likely it is. And so be mindful of the people that you're giving your personal information, especially if you don't have your credit information locked. It would be relatively easy for someone to go online and open up a bank account or something in your name and launder money, whatever it may be. But you just don't want to be on the bad end of anything that has to deal with your finances because it can get pretty sticky to get out of. Luckily, that's never happened to me or anyone that I know of, but I know it's definitely a fear of most people as they get older. Funny enough, one of my mentor's mom is 84, and so she lives in Augusta, and she was really worried because she was like, her antivirus software was running out on her computer. And so she was like, I want to redo it. And normally this is something I could just go over there. She's visiting her daughter who stays in Atlanta. And I was like, oh, well, she's in Augusta and also she's elderly, so susceptible to COVID. So I didn't want to go directly over there, and also it's a 2-hour drive. So I was like, all right, let's schedule some time for FaceTime and like work it out. And so in what would have taken me probably 3 or 4 minutes, she's so cute as can be. It took me maybe like an hour and a half, but it's like no matter the age, and normally the older you are and the more assets you have to protect, you're a little more mindful of your personal information because it can be extremely costly, especially if you have good credit. People can literally go and open up installment accounts and open up loans, open up cards, charge them up, and then basically it's your problem to figure out, your problem to dispute and say that, hey, that wasn't me, but then you have to go through the whole part of, actually proving that it wasn't you. So yeah, what are some cards for beginners? And so for me, I started off with a secured credit card, and what a secured credit card is basically your way of you have to pay to get your credit card. And the way that that works is, say you want a $500 limit, right? You'd have to give them collateral of 125% of whatever your limit is. So I had to give $625 because it was basically saying, hey, I'm a high risk lender because I have no type of credit history. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you the full amount of the what I can charge out on the card plus the 25% interest you'd be able to get over a year. So you do that if you're not applicable to do something like I didn't know about Discover Ed Student, but I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, if you have a secured card, you can go to your bank, well, you can't go to your bank because of COVID. I guess you could do it online, and you could just move money from your account. If that's something that you're interested in doing, you use it. You use it responsibly. You always make your payments on time. You don't leave super high balances on there. Oh, another myth that I definitely have to debunk. A lot of people believe that you have to keep a balance on your card to have good credit, and it's one of the dumbest things that I think. Well, it's just something people don't know. But yeah, it's dumb, and you definitely don't have to do that. If you charge $1,000 on your card and then you make a payment on that card, it still reports that you made your payment, and then it also shows that utilization is zero. So that's essentially where you want to be. You want to continue racking up positive payment history. You want to continue keeping your utilization really, really low. So a secured card would be a great way to get started. Outside of that, Discover Its Student also works out pretty well. And so that's another one. It's a starter card. So they're expecting you to not have a really high amount of income. They're not expecting you to be doing anything much outside of being a student. They're going to start you off with a small limit, maybe $250, $500, $1,000. And it's just about making sure they gauge like your risk as a lender, because as you go, as you make more money, as you start understanding the importance of using credit the right way, your limits automatically increase often after time, and you can also apply for more cards, and then you have a positive payment history, you have a positive track record, you have everything you need to continue on your journey, and then if you want to do whatever you want to do with your credit, it'll be a lot simpler. Hay preguntas. So now we want to dive into some questions. Oh, and then while y'all are gearing up questions, I will also stop sharing this. Oops. So we were talking about the different kinds of cards that you can have and why I believe in annual fees. And so let me go ahead and share one of my screens, and I'll just log into my account, and you can see why I would even choose a card that has such a high annual fee. And so let's take a look. So now you can see like why certain things make sense, and it doesn't make sense for everyone. And I can definitely show you how to do that too. This loads. Come on. So for this card, the annual fee for it is $550, and I'm actually considering downgrading because I can't travel due to COVID. But that's at the point of this conversation. So $550 is the annual fee for this card. So let's see what kind of benefits actually come with utilizing it. If it will load, pretty please. Nice to me. Thank you, American Express. While I do that, I think I will hop over to see the questions. Okay, I will do that in just a second. I did see a question pop up about showing how to do credit locking, and so I will open up another tab and do that right after this. Okay, cool. So let's look at some of the different rewards that you get. 5 times points on flight, that's cool. 5 times hotels, that's fine. You get $100 credit at Saks Fifth, so you include that, you're already down from 550 to 450. You get access to the American Express Global Lounge Collection, so it's a bunch of lounges everywhere. You also have access to Centurion lounges, which are for Platinum and Black Card holders. You have things such as unlimited food, you have unlimited alcohol, some have massage parlors and different stuff in it, which is all free, which is pretty nice. Makes it a lot easier to travel and cheaper when you're going to the airport, don't have to buy food. You get $2 a year as far as Uber credits, so you can use that whatever you want with Uber Eats. So if we're just counting what's actually be given by dollars, we're already from 450 to 550 to 250. And then you also get a $200 airline credit fee that you can utilize on whatever airline. I think I normally use Delta. I used to, you can buy yourself gift cards, and then that's what I used to do. But they just changed it, and I also haven't flown anywhere this year, so I still have my $200 credit. So we're already down to $50. You get free upgraded status at Hilton and Marriott, so you get early check-in, late checkout, stuff like that. Get access to 24/7 concierge service, so you can call them and give them all kinds of stupid requests, and they get stuff done for you for free. You get access to TSA PreCheck and Global Entry, which is basically the international version of TSA PreCheck, which just means you get to go in faster, in and out, expedited move into the United States, and also to certain countries that partner with it. Then, oh yeah, you get gold status at all the car rental places, which is Avis. You have Avis, Budget, and then you also have Enterprise and Hertz. That's who it is. And you get some stuff like premium car rental protection. You have certain access to certain cruise programs, and then I think one of the coolest things, you have access to Delta's private jet program. So if you want to fly private, you can. And so the one other card that I do have it for, which should be on here. Come on. And while that takes forever to load, I'm also going to go ahead and pull up how to do credit locking. So for each of the credit bureaus, so let's see, here we are. Okay, you don't have to, let me find the link, because you actually don't have to pay for this. It's another link that I have to go to. They always try to upsell you on stuff. Let me find out where. Okay, there it is. Free security free. There we go. So you can do this for each of the credit bureaus, and I will actually I'll also put this in the comments so you can see what each of them are. And this is a link telling me about security freeze and why does the internet want to work so slow today. I'm so sorry, guys. But let me try going through TransUnion because they're all there. Freeze credit. Maybe that's what I should put. Okay, there we go. By going through each of the, you might have to hunt for the link. Okay, here's one. Okay, cool. So you can freeze your credit. You can unfreeze your credit. I keep mine permanently frozen unless I'm actually, and you see how it's freeze anytime for free. All of them are free. You should never be paying to do any of this. It doesn't affect your score either. It just means that people aren't allowed to go and pull your credit without your authorization. And that means you literally coming in here and it's literally nothing, not doing much, but going in there, typing a password in. I'm not going to do that because I think it's going to auto-populate too much of my personal information. But I'll click on this link to see what it brings up. Yeah. So you can go in here. You can create your free report. I mean, your free account. You go in here, say freeze your credit, and then after that, so let's see if I can do the same for Experian. Maybe that's the keyword that I should have been searching instead. Free. Okay, there we go. Perfect. So here we have the same thing about adding a security freeze, and then you can do the same thing with Equifax. Equifax security freeze. So you can do that with all three. So personally, I feel better knowing that all my accounts are currently frozen, and I'm the only one that has access to unfreeze them because it just makes sense for me. And but it might not make sense for everyone. It's not a bad practice. It's better to have and not need than to need and not have. So you can see here, you can do these freezes all for free. So yeah, just type in the three credit bureaus are going to be Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. And then you could just type in freeze next to it, and it should bring you to the thing. Do not pay for anything. If it brings you to pay for something, don't do it. And so, oh yeah, benefits for the last one. The only one that's really, really cool on this one was the fact that it's not going to pop up. Okay, forget it. Oh, maybe it will. This one also gives free TSA or pre-check, which I'm going to give to one of my friends since I already have it and I can't hold on to the credit for two people. But you get access to a companion pass. There it goes, companion certificate. So this means that if you're flying domestic, I can basically like take a friend with me, and they pay no more than $75 to fly wherever we're going. So if you're flying to California or somewhere, that could be a $400 ticket, and it could only be $75. Okay, cool. And now we get to hop in the chat. So, hi Philip, how do you lock your credit? Okay, we did that. Cool. What would you recommend to rebuild a 580 credit score? Okay, so my response to that would be it depends why it's a 580. So if it's a 580 because you have no credit, or if it's a 580 because there was negative remarks that have been on your credit. But if you don't have any credit cards or anything, you'd have to start with a secured card, because getting any to unsecurely give you money, you'd need a better score. Uh, I recently closed one of my Chase cards because the interest rates were crazy and there was an annual fee. Do you think that was the right thing to do? So with that, so when you close your accounts, it'll impact your age. One, two, interest rates shouldn't really matter unless you're leaving balances on your card. If you don't leave balances on your card, you really shouldn't care about interest rate. And the other thing is annual fees. I totally get it. But one of the things that you can do just in the future going forward, you can actually ask them to downgrade your card to something that doesn't have an annual fee. So yeah, 2020 in hindsight, and they might even be able to reopen your account and re-age it, but that's a whole other conversation. Okay. A few credit cards, 91% payment history, 3 months of student loan payments because I wasn't enrolled. Okay, and so let me go back to what your original question was. Okay, so one thing that you could definitely do is reach out to the processors of the student loans and plead your case of. I don't know if you're. I'm gonna play a devil's advocate and pretend plausible deniability that you did not know that there were payments that were coming, which is why you did not pay them. And so you can literally reach out to them by phone and, plead your case of you had no idea that was whatever, just explain about going through hardship, blah, 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 and see if they would be willing to reverse those payment histories. It's not a guarantee. You can do it by phone. You can also look up what's called a goodwill letter. And so if you type up credit goodwill letter, that's something else you can do, because your payment history is going to be that's the thing that's holding you back. Like through reading that stuff, like it's definitely payment history. So one thing you definitely never want to miss out on. But since we're here already, it's just about moving forward. So I would definitely recommend calling the processors of your student loans and pleading your case and seeing if they'll reverse it. Because if you can get those payments to be returned, then your credit score will shoot back. No derogatory average age, total account 16, reporting rent using self-lender, don't want to pay for trade lines. Yeah, okay, yeah, so I answered that. Can't get approved from your credit. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to because of the payment history. But yeah, so definitely reach out to the processor of those loans and see what you can get done and see if you can get those payments reversed. That is literally your best option. APR is 24%. Yeah, I totally get it. But yeah, if you're using the cards responsibly, well, not just responsibly, in the right way, you don't really care about APR because you're not leaving balances to be charged anything. Hey Philip, this is regarding the secured cards. Cards. Will the collateral payment to open the secured card, like a down payment, will be refunded eventually? Great question. So yes, as you continue to use the secured card, depending on how long it's going to be, your bank or whoever it may be will eventually, if they like you enough, they'll give you back whatever your security deposit was, and they'll give you an unsecured card right after that. So then that way you wouldn't have to have a deposit anymore. When I first started, my first one was with Georgia United Credit Union. I had no idea that with continual use, they would give me back the money. And so I closed the account. I closed what was my oldest account at the time. And then I got back my 625, but I had already started opening up other accounts in the midst of that. So it worked out. But yeah, if you stay the course, I say don't close it, stay the course. You pay and keep using it. Eventually, they'll give you your money back and an unsecured card. Perfect. All right. Any questions? And you're welcome.
Philip, I'm curious, can you share your thoughts? I heard you mention credit union. What are your thoughts on credit union versus traditional, of course, nickname big box banks versus some of the community banks? What's your thought on that?
So when it comes to getting loans in general, credit unions are often like way, way, way nicer as far as interest rates go than other people. As far as opening up a secured credit account, it's not really too much of a difference because no matter who your bank is, but when it comes to actually getting loans, uh, credit unions are often a lot more lenient with their financing terms. And so it's something to keep in mind. But also, like as you guys, I don't know what your ranges are and whether people are getting ready to graduate or not. Make sure that you're looking at some of the subsidy programs that they have if you are looking to get into home ownership whenever you lock in that first job or whatever you do. Look at if you're gonna stay in Georgia, look at stuff like Georgia Dream. Check out stuff like Invest Atlanta, the small business grants that they have, not loans. They have actual grants that you can get a boat ton of money. There was one lady at one seminar that I met that said she got $70,000 in grants because she stacked one between Invest Atlanta and the Atlanta Housing Authority, and also like a neighborhood grant. So that's money that she didn't have to pay back, but the stipulation was that she was living in the property she would buy for, I think it was 5 or 10 years. But yeah, make sure you're utilizing the resources out there so you can get all the freest money possible.
And of course, the magic word, whether it's a credit union, a small community bank, or a large bank, you want to talk a little bit about the role relationship can play with.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that's also big. So having an established bank account with certain credit, well, whether you look at the credit lenders, the banks in general, they'll see like whatever your cash flow is, and sometimes they'll automatically make suggestions of like, would you like to open this? Would you like to open this? And so I saw that with Bank of America as I was not at the point that I was doing the right thing of separating all of my business stuff from my personal stuff. I was shuffling a lot of money like in between my personal accounts. So America would literally send me things like, "Would you like to open a business bank account? Like, would you like to open a business bank account, or would you like to open up this kind of credit card?" And so sometimes even when they give you some of those pre-qualified offers, they'll actually give you a soft inquiry rather than a hard inquiry because they're used to seeing like they have a flow of how much cash like comes through your bank account on a regular basis, and it actually makes it a lot simpler. Sorry, I got another question. And it makes it a lot simpler for you to go ahead and like you're an established customer. You have a relationship, you can say, you know, you leverage like I've been with you guys for this many years. Like I've never opened up another bank account, even though you could totally have a bunch of banks with everyone else like I do. But just making sure that you're maintaining like those relationships, and they have the ability to wiggle around some things for you, like whether you know their bank relationship manager, business relationship manager, whoever it is, like you want them to be in a position where you know they like you and they want to help you out, and definitely having history plays a huge part into that.
And we know that many of the branch managers and the lenders at these institutions, they turn over like crazy. There are several lenders. I've been working with entrepreneurs now for 16 years. And, you know, when we still did business cards, there are certain people that their business cards were just scratched out because every other year they were going to someone else.
Mm.
So that I preface that with it's hard to keep up with people because of the pace at with which the world is moving. However, you still have to make an effort. If you do decide to move forward with a community bank or even a Bank of America or Wells Fargo, you still have to make the effort to try and have somebody know your name. Because at the end of the day, many of these decisions are still made by human beings. And it requires a little extra effort right now, but if you've attended any of these other sessions in the month of April, you will have heard me say on a number of occasions, relationships are important. People do business with people that they know and people that they like. So schedule an appointment with a branch manager. Now, it may be 3 weeks out, but again, you're in no rush. Schedule the appointment, just introduce yourself, say, hey, I'm, a student at Georgia State, but I'm starting a business and I'm, working on my 2-year plan. I'm not doing anything now, but I need someone in this branch to know my name because you never know. Things happen all the time. And whether it to be your fault or no fault of your own, something happens with your account, if someone knows you, they'd be more likely to stop what they're doing to help you out, whether it be a fraudulent situation or simply your bill that you paid went out before the check that you deposited. I don't know who that could ever happen to, but sometimes it can happen. It can happen. Bills you pay come out before the check that you deposit. And you want to be able to call somebody, oh, Miss Jackson, I am so sorry. Someone you can walk up to and say, what happened was And, there's no guarantee that they'll ever be able to help you, but you never know. Relationships are important. It's easier to get someone to help you if they know you than you walk up to a stranger trying to get some assistance with an NSFB. And you see Phil shaking his head to everything that I'm saying. So,
Yes, don't treat people like numbers, treat them like people, for sure. And even as any of you are looking to get into business, it's about providing value, and it is literally just based off relationships. Because even myself, I choose not to do business with people that I do not like because it's just like, why do I want to do it? Even if I can make money doing stuff, it's like I don't want to be around you. It's not worth it. Like, and it's the peace of mind of knowing that I can do stuff with low stress is it's priceless. Peace of mind is priceless more than anything else. But definitely make sure you're investing in relationships at all levels. Like the same way we're talking about like investing with the bank managers, make those relationships, invest in relationships with your teachers, with wonderful people like Miss Erica, because you don't know who some of these people know and what they do. And don't be slept on and just be honest, be transparent with like what you're looking for. We're often loving to look to like help people. It's not we're looking to give handouts. You have to sponsor yourself before anyone else wants to sponsor you. So it's not about saying, hey, teach me how to do everything that you know. It's like, hey, I've been working on this, I've been doing this. I need a little help, like getting on the in between. And then at that point, it's like, oh yeah, let's go. Like, come on. Like I see you sweat
absolutely.
equity because you've actually tried. No one's gonna hand you all this stuff for free. I hate so much when people say, I want to learn everything that you know. And it's like, okay, like cool, like what have you learned so far? Nothing. All right, come back and talk to me. I'll send them a link to go and read stuff and be like, come back, talk to me in a month. Like at that point that you've actually tried and done some stuff because it's too hard for me to pick everything up. And I'm not doing it for my time is very valuable. So it's like I value it more than anything else. And I want you to value the beauty of putting that work in. Like everyone wants to get to where you go, but they don't want to do what you did to get there. So everyone, you can still shortcut that for a lot of people. However, you still have to put in some sort of sweat equity, and people will really love, respect, and adore you for putting in that work. So make sure that you're cultivating those relationships at all, even with your friends, even as you're in college. College, one of the most beautiful things you can do is network because you don't know who a lot of these people are going to be. But if you're intentionally making relationships, you know exactly what everyone is doing. Like I know all of my friends that are in law school and medical school, that are working in investment banking, that are professional players, like everyone, making sure there's actual established relationships, not a I follow this person or I knew of this person. It's it. We call in, we check in, we hang out when we can. Like it's about maintaining like true things, and you have everyone has value to bring to the table. So don't count yourself out of feeling like I don't have anything to offer someone. There's always something you can offer. So it's like finding that good balance of knowing when to having people at each level, people you can walk with, people that are in front of you, and then also people behind you that you're helping. So make sure that you're always
Love that. Love that. People walk with you, people are ahead of you, and people that are behind that you can reach back and help. I love that. I love that. And
everyone.
you talk about time. You talk about time being the most valuable resource. All the Georgia State students on this workshop, you all have access to LinkedIn Learning. If you want to learn more about anything that Phillip said today, go on LinkedIn Learning. There are workshops on everything, and many of them are multi hour. You don't necessarily have to sit in front of the computer for 3 hours. You could be working on a decluttering project, or you could be, doing something else, cleaning up the kitchen for your mom and just have it playing in the background.
Yeah, you utilize it for what it is. And in the same way, I value my time. I value all of yours as well. Like I appreciate all you all for coming out and spending. If I don't want to, I don't like dragging out whatever I have to say because I'm not just wasting a minute of my time. I'm wasting eight, nine. I'm wasting 10 minutes of time because it's a 1 minute for each and every person. So when you're looking at like, it doesn't matter that I'm 5 minutes late for class. You didn't just waste 5 minutes. You wasted 5 minutes of every single person in that room. So same way that you would want someone to respect your time, always respect other people's time. And then I did get one more question. Someone sent me privately. How much does it cost to remove derogatory marks from credit? So depending on whether you're going to go directly through whoever you owe them to, whether you're going to go through a company, I mean, the cost it would be removing whatever the bill is. I mean, you could definitely call them and negotiate to bring down the terms. But one of the things that you always want to do is get in writing, whether by email or by mail, that in the agreement to pay off whatever the amount is, that they'll remove it from your credit report. The reason that I say that is because say you pay it off and then they don't remove it from the report, you then have proof that you can take to the credit bureaus and they can automatically take it off after that. And so just make sure that you're covering your tracks, get it all in writing, and everything in life is negotiable.
I'd like to piggyback on that question. I have a feeling that he or she may have been asking. You see these companies out here with these signs at the exits that say credit repair for $300. Would you advise paying someone? And can you talk a little bit about someone really being able to fix your credit?
Yeah, so just depending on what you're looking for and why you're doing it in the first place. So a lot of people want to have crazy good credit so they can go spend more money and have more debt. Dumbest reason to do it, and you just end up in a worse than anything else. If it's more so like I got started, like say someone's like, I got started to credit the absolute wrong way, the first thing you need to do is understand what's impacting your credit. If you don't understand what's impacting your credit and you haven't kind of given it a shot to kind of fix it, you don't even know what this person's going to be doing for you. It's just like they're going to say, hey, like this is going to throw out some jargon at you. Like we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to add some trade lines, we're going to do this, and then your credit's going to be 700 in no time. Pay us $300 a month, non-refundable deposit in the receipt, and then you're going to continue paying stuff. They're going to say it's going to take 5 or 6 months, and now you spent $1,600 when the one derogatory mark you had was $200. You didn't even understand what was impacting your credit score. So it's like, but the three things that are going to impact more than anything else that I not stress enough, first is paying everything on time, payment history, being mindful of whatever your payment history is, credit card utilization, and then your derogatory marks. So if it's a utilization problem, get better at budgeting, aside, knock down whatever you have so that way your utilization continually decreases. Outside of that, when you're looking at derogatory marks, if you go on Credit Karma and click on derogatory marks for TransUnion, because I've done this for clients, it gives you a number to call, and I don't call people's creditors. I let them call. I just show them how to do it. Call them, talk about, if you have to know if it's a bill that you had or not. If it is a bill that you understand, okay, cool. Set up your payment terms in writing that it'll be removed from your credit report and take care of it. It's not about a lot of people say like we can get it removed off. It could be removed from your report, and then you still owe the money. And so it's like now you're afraid to answer the phone anytime it's a 1-800 number because you owe somebody money. And it's way easier to go ahead and just take care of it all together. Then when it comes to payment history, you have to be really, really careful because it's one of the hardest things to ever bounce back from. But like we were talking earlier with Mr. Jones, how you can talk to the creditor, reach out, you can send out a goodwill letter and explain your situation. Maybe people will be a little more lenient because of COVID. So whatever it is, like do what you need to do and see. Like you say, you never know if you don't ask. So there's no other way of doing it, and there's no credit repair system that is gonna fix your payment history or your utilization. That's you paying stuff that, and then that is you paying stuff on time. The only thing they can really help you out with is derogatory marks, and possibly with adding accounts because they could be adding trade lines for you. I know a handful of people that sell trade lines because it's like, okay, cool. I have an account that's $5,000 that has $5,000 that has zero utilization and it's 7 years old. I can add you on there. It's going to cost you $500 a month. And so they're going to be added on that account. They're going to let the thing boost their credit. Then they're going to apply for another card and then they get removed from it. So that's another way that people go about doing things. But it's really just about understanding what is impacting your credit and what is it that you actually need help with. Because it's going to be a lot of solutions you can do yourself or that you can work out with the creditor directly that doesn't cost you an arm and a leg. So don't waste money. But talk to someone that you can trust and really understand your credit report before going to have conversation in general, because otherwise you'll look like a deer in the headlights and they're going to sweet sell you and take your money.
Awesome. That is exactly what I wanted you to say, to let people know that no one can fix your credit. No one has a magic wand to fix your credit. So don't, regardless of what they say, it's paying that stuff down.
Paying it down, taking care of the bill itself, and just best the right ways of utilizing your cards. And it's like, why do you want more credit? Like understanding why is it important that you get more credit? I think we get stuck in a society where I think it's almost like a bragging right. Like a lot of people will say literally like, oh, like, but do you have a 700 credit score? Or do you have an 800 credit? Like whatever. It's like, why does any of that matter? Like, what are you actually utilizing it for? Are you using it for business? Are you using it so you can buy investment properties? Or are you just saying it that you have it just to have it And you can also have a high credit score that has no depth, and you can still be denied. That's the other thing. People will think that because you have one account that's open or two accounts that's open, they're like, oh, like I got a 760 though, but you'll be denied for every business credit card because it doesn't show that you actually have a bunch of accounts with a bunch of limits that have been managed responsibly. So don't be fooled by someone that says that they have a high credit account and they only have, one or two accounts open. It's about also having depth with your credit because it shows that you're good with a whole bunch of accounts. It's easy to be good with one or two accounts that have $500 limits. It's difficult to be good when you have $100,000 in credit and 20 something different accounts.
No credit is just as bad. It's just as poor as bad credit.
Precisely.
No credit is just as poor as bad credit. A lot of people don't understand that.
Podcast books you recommend to read on credit or business? Speaking as a college senior. Okay, cool. Some you. I know people. I don't like wasting time. Like the books can sometimes be really drawn out. I would say there's a handful of articles you could definitely find on stuff like Credit Karma, like Nerd Wallet. If you're more so into watching YouTube breakdowns, really good channels that I enjoyed. If you're looking for budgeting stuff, Dave Ramsey, because he's a hoot, but he's a he's a good dude.
Watch. He's the extreme, and that's the extreme.
Yeah, that's the extreme. I don't like credit. I hate credit, but I'm really good on budgeting, and actually a lot of people need it because most people suck with credit. They're gonna use it to leverage debt. So Dave Ramsey is the epitome of like you should watch some of his. He has YouTube calls. People call in, and he'll just ring them a new one. But yeah, so Dave Ramsey's a great one for budgeting. As far as credit goes, there's 3 channels. Ask Sebi is one. There's another dude named Credit Shifu. And then, matter of fact, I'll type it in here.
Would you please?
I got it.
Old school. So I'm a huge Clark Howard fan. It continues to be my guru. And it's funny, I love him so much. This is, and you could tell I've had this for a very long time. One of my clients broke his little arm off, but this thing has got to be 25 years old. He's still on WSB. His show comes on really, really late. It comes on at 10 p.m., but he is a good person to follow and maybe, follow on Twitter.
Definitely. Yeah, so you can definitely have Dave Ramsey, then make sure you're use some apps. Like you're not gonna get anywhere. I'm big on this. You're not gonna get there without like strategic planning. You're not gonna make money without planning how you're gonna do. You're not gonna have a savings without strategically doing it. So I know 2 really good. This is one of them is actually from Clark Howard. So it's Mint and Every Dollar. Those are the 2 that are like really popular. Every Dollar. So these are free applications that you can download on your phone. You can set up your budget. You can set up and link it to your credit cards, link it to your personal account. So you can literally start tracking and monitoring. Like you have to have a plan. Like without a plan, like you'll get nowhere. If you operate in a gray area, you'll stay in a gray area and you'll be in a gray area later. So definitely just make sure you're planning out for what you want. We all have different ideas of what we want for life, what we view as wealth, what we find as happiness. Just take time and figure out what makes sense to you. Don't read an article of someone saying this is what you do to be right. It's like, no, what makes sense for you? And really ask yourself those questions because it is important. And so, yeah.
Any other questions? Last call for questions. Type them in the chat box, please. While we're waiting to see if there are any final questions, any final best practices you'd like to leave everybody? Oh, we've got a hand raised. Anissa, hold on. Okay, Anissa.
Okay. Hi. Hey, everybody. So one of the things that I was thinking about with credit, I was trying to build my credit up for real estate investing purposes, but I also wanted to see how much of an impact would your personal credit have on your business credit, especially when it comes to like investing in like real estate. Can they be separate? Like, can you have like like you're building up, or what is it called? Like say you have bad credit, but you're rebuilding it up, but you're trying to open up a new line of business credit. Will that have an effect? Will your personal credit have an effect on it, and how much?
Definitely. And so, great question. So when it comes to starting off in business credit, say it's a new business, right? Your new business has no business, it has no traction, it has no
Right.
tax records of how much money it's been making. So what's the one thing they get to look at?
Right.
First
Yeah, I
is
think you did mention that.
deciding to do whatever with it. So it's like, all right, cool. If you're looking to do that, they're gonna say, all right, like if whether you're looking to get like a line of credit as far as business, or you're looking to get like a business credit card, or you're looking to get a business loan, the things they're gonna be looking at is your personal credit, definitely. It's gonna have a huge impact. Then you're also gonna be looking at what you have in assets. So what is the collateral? If you're already a flight risk as far as what your personal credit is, what do you have in assets that we can take as collateral? So if you default, we can just take it. We can take whatever you have. And then they want to see like things such as like cash flow. So for me, like when I was starting off, the first matter of fact, it should probably be in my wallet. Yeah, it is actually. Hold on the card. So the easiest business card that when I was researching like how to do was this is the first one I got was Capital One Spark Business. So it's crazy for their like requirements. They were even accepting utilization above 50%, which I just thought was nuts. But it was the simplest one to get it. Even like with the first line of credit that I opened as far as business was Cabbage. And so when I opened up my line of credit with Cabbage, one of the things that they were looking at was not only my personal credit, but they were also looking at the cash flow of my business bank accounts to see how much money is coming in every month and how much am I spending. And so you say you want to get into real estate. What aspect of real estate do you want to do? You want to do like wholesaling? You're looking to actually do.
Well, yeah, honestly, I was gonna start with wholesaling, but I really just want to just have rental properties. That's just it. It's just another form of, another stream of income. I just want to manage rental properties. That's the main goal. But I mean, wholesaling is cool and all, but I really want to like be a landlord.
Yeah. So what's your timeline looking like?
Huh?
What's your timeline looking like? Like at what point do you want to get into your first property?
Uh, honestly, that will to me it will be the perfect graduation gift. I graduate next spring, so if I can, yeah, right, I'm so excited. So if I can have at least one rental property for graduation, or at least right after graduation, that will just set the foundation for everything, really. I really and then I'm actually going to Georgia, staying at Georgia State to get my commercial real estate license, because eventually I want to do apartment complexes and multifamily homes and properties. Yeah, I know, big bugs, but yeah, and then just as like a slight transparency moment, I know you mentioned how somebody, some of us may not have already had experience with bankruptcies. Unfortunately, I got into a car accident in 2017, which um, caused me to default on my car loan, and I was served papers for it, and there was literally nothing that I could do but file for bankruptcy. So in the midst of having to deal with that, I'm still trying to rebuild up my credit, but I mean everybody's literally turning me down for everything because of that situation. So that's why I just kind of want, like, okay, well, maybe if I open up a business credit and then do well with that, maybe, I don't know. I didn't know how well they both kind of relate to each other. So that was the reasoning for my question.
Gotcha. And I mean, thanks for the transparency. I'm glad that you're okay and that you about to graduate next semester, and then
Yes, yeah, yeah. All this is just a testimony. It's okay.
I like it. And so, all right. So two things. One, like, do you have a secured card already? Do you have any type of credit cards yet?
No, I don't.
Okay, that's okay.
They were all in the bankruptcy. I
Yeah,
had two though. I had a Bank of America and I had a Chase.
gotcha. And so one of the things that I would say with just starting back as you're trying to rebuild is like opening up that secured account, like first and foremost, so that you can go ahead and start rebuilding, from somewhere. Definitely. And
Even though like my credit is like, even though with the bankruptcy and stuff, I could still probably get approved for a small balance secured card.
they still have the right to deny, but the thing is with the secured card is giving them the money up front. So it's not a I'm questioning whether she can possibly pay it back. It's like, well, the default, we get the money back anyway. The same thing Ms. Erica was talking about, establishing those relationships, going in there and talking to the person, talking about what actually happened, and people like she was saying, it's not made by computers. The decisions are made by people, and so
Right.
like yeah, the same way you were able to like say that with ease, like it's gonna be a yes or a no. I mean, it's way better to do that than to wonder. And you know for sure it's
Right.
gonna be extremely hard to open up, new accounts that are unsecured. But by starting with
Mhm.
secured as you're building and doing everything else, it'll become a lot simpler. And so the other thing that I definitely want to say to keep in mind as you if you want to get a rental property is making sure that whatever your living situation is or whatever like your income is, that you can afford to pay it even if you don't have tenants.
Right. Right.
That way, like it's great because you can double down on payments if you want to, or you can not. You can just cash flow it. But you never want to be put in a position where it's like you have someone that lives there, and let's say life happens, tragedy happens, they're not
Mhm.
able to pay you, so then you're also not able to pay that mortgage,
Right.
and that's
Right.
a bad situation that a lot of people even right now are kind of in because a lot of people do have investment properties, and people are wondering like why can't I not pay my rent? Why can't they be lenient? They don't realize a lot of those properties are owned by people that were using that as cash flow, and they
Hmm.
didn't have enough money to completely pay that mortgage as itself. So of course they can't let you slide because the bank's not going to let them slide. It's just a trickle down
Right.
effect to everything.
Right.
So, but yeah, you do those things and do that in good shape, and you've got this. And if you need any extra help, by all means, I'm happy to help however I can.
Oh yeah, you will definitely get an email from me like very soon. Thank you, Philip. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
All right. Don't see any other questions. So with that, I want to again tell Philip, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. We appreciate you. This session is amazing and probably one of the, not one of, it is the most useful session that we do every semester. And I hope everyone walks away with something. So thank you for your wisdom, your guidance, your best practices, and for being available. Um, so again, our final event for the semester is on Thursday, the Entrepreneur Showcase. Um, please chime in if you guys are available. We will be starting at 1 o'clock. You can register at um, calendar.gsu.edu. Join us, show some support for your fellow Panthropreneurs. Um, and I struggle with talking and at the same time. Um, there we go. Join us, show support, see what other folks are doing. My new launch members who just joined in the spring, this will give you a chance to meet some of the other existing members, and just, come on out. Let's wind down the semester successfully. Launch memberships application will be opening again June 1st. So be on the lookout for that. If you've been getting our emails, you'll get additional emails about when the applications will be opening. Let me know if you have any questions. But again, thank you, Philip. Thank you, wise counseling and guidance. You guys, hopefully, everyone took away at least one thing that they can put into practice today. So, as always, do what?
Emmanuel Powell. Is that the little question box that I just pop up? I'm sorry.
Hold on. With me sharing, I lost my.
Oh,
You
oh
still,
yeah,
so
it,
I
it
can't
showed
see
me a
it. Can
little
you see
question
it?
hand under Miss Wright for last name Powell. Hello.
Yep. Uh-huh. Let's see. Hold on. I'm gonna stop sharing. So no, I don't. No one else has their hands raised.
Oh, it showed me like a little question box, but not.
Emmanuel, hold on. Well, Emmanuel, did you have a question? I unmuted you. Did you have a question?
Oh no, I didn't have a question. I accidentally put thank you in the question box instead of the
Oh.
chat.
Um, you're welcome.
Awesome, awesome. So with that, I will let everyone get back to their Monday. Thank you guys so much, Philip. We appreciate you. Everybody out there, stay home, stay safe, wash those hands, and if everyone cooperates, the faster we can get back on campus. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.